development framework. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump right into this. What is DappTools and why should you care about it? Well, anytime that you are, creating blockchain applications, you're writing smart contracts, you typically end up doing these things inside of a framework that saves you time and gives you tools that you can use to speed up your development workflow, so that you can, basically get the job done fast. Okay. And so there's lots of different environments where you can create smart contracts for Ethereum or whatever blockchain you want to. One really popular example is, Remix, which is just an online IDE where you can create smart contracts inside of it. You can create them all inside your browser. You can test them inside your browser. You can deploy them to a blockchain. And this is a really great thing to use if you're just testing out, Solidity programming language. Okay, and it's got some definitely strengths for sure. But if you're going to maintain a project long term, then it becomes really helpful to have a framework installed on your computer where you can create projects from scratch. You can organize files. Use source code control like GitHub Git for example, and integration like GitHub or Bitbucket, whatever you like there, so that you can help maintain the projects long term. And so, we use Truffle quite a bit in this program and on my YouTube channel as well, and Web3.js and lots of different tools that kind of become our canonical set of tools. But I want to introduce you to a new framework today called DappTools. Okay, that's exactly what it is. The smart contract development framework, like Truffle, like Hardhat, like Brownie, any of these other smart contract development frameworks out there. But it just has a little bit different philosophy. And so I want to introduce you to this today because it does have some cool advantages, which you're going to see in this video. Okay. It has a very Linux-like philosophy, so if you're into that sort of thing, then you might like DappTools. And I also wanted to just show it to you so that you can kind of get exposure to new things, especially if you're learning and you're brand new. Then getting exposure to some of these more broader ideas can definitely help the learning process, as you're going, and actually maybe even solidify what you like to do in your own framework. Okay, so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which framework you use as long as it gets the job done and as long as it fits the need of whatever project you're working on. Sometimes that's just dictated by what your team uses, and you just have to learn that new thing. But so it doesn't really matter if you end up using this at the end of the day for your own projects, but you might want to do that after watching this video, but you also might just like testing out something new and then strengthening, your own values, because sometimes that happens too. You go check out a new framework and then you realize that it does something and it reinforces what you know about the thing that you are more comfortable with. So anyways, let's take a look at DappTools. So basically, it has a very Linux-like philosophy where you do a lot of things from the command line, and it has these four main modules. Okay, so Dapp, which is a smart contract project management. So it's like the Truffle command if you're in the Truffle framework. Dapp create, Dapp test, Dapp deploy. Those are very similar to the Truffle commands. Okay. So Seth is a command line Ethereum client, so it's kind of like Geth, but it's their own version of it where you can basically create a test blockchain on a computer. So HEVM is a debugger for debugging EVM, and then ETHSign is a tool that lets you sign ETH transactions using a JSON key store or a hardware wallet. Okay, so we're going to look at several of these, mostly these two, all right? And what we're actually going to do is create a simple project with DappTools so you can just see how you would install it, how you'd set it up on your computer, and how you would create a basic project if you wanted to integrate this into your workflow. All right, so let's go ahead and get everything installed here. So what you're going to first want to do is install Nix. So Nix is a package manager that's going to let you install DappTools, okay? So there'll be some slightly different instructions based upon your operating system. Again, you can see those in the README here. Okay, so for Mac and Linux, you're going to follow these instructions, and depending on which version of Mac or Linux that you have, you're going to want to hit a fork in the road here. I'm using a Mac OS version greater than 10.15. So I'm going to use this command right here. I'm going to copy it. All right, so this is how I'm going to install Nix. is basically do curl-l and then paste in the URL here. I'm going to pipe into sh and do -s then --Darwin use unencrypted Nix store volume. Okay, so it's a special flag that comes from the documentation that's going to allow me to actually install this on my operating system. So this is the output that I see whenever I did that. So I've already done it off camera here, but you'll see the output, work just fine. And you'll see this installation message at the end that says to ensure that the necessary environment variables are set, either log in again or type this command. So whatever you see there, just copy it and paste it. I did that, and then that's going to successfully, do that configuration, and you'll see the output of that, at the bottom of your terminal. Whenever it's finished, you'll see this success message that simply says all set, and created a number of send links for the environment. So that just sets up your environment. So for earlier Mac versions, you can just use this, or Linux versions, you can just use that. For a Windows machine, you can see the setup steps in this document. You can see this command here. So now, we've already done this, and now what we want to do is just check the version success. All right, so let's just do next version. All right, so we're using 2.3.15. So you should see that. And then now we're going to install DappTools. So we'll just do curl DappTools install and do sh. All right, we'll wait for this to finish. All right, now that it's all finished, we're going to take the next step and actually show you how to create a new project. Okay, so whenever that's finished, you're going to have all these important components like DApp, HEVM, Ceph, ETHSign. These will all be available whenever you're finished. Okay. So now let's actually create a new project with DappTools so you can see how it works. So we're going to create a new directory just manually with Unix. So we'll say mkdir, all right, and say simple storage, or makedir, however you want to say it, storage. Okay, then we're entered that new created directory like this, cd simple storage. Okay, and we'll say dapp init. So dapp is the command line tool that comes with DappTools that lets you create a new dapp, or just do dapps. Use a tool related to dapps. So I bet you money there's dapp help. We could try check to see if it's a man page, man dapp. So there's no man page, but we could say dapp help maybe. Okay, so now we can see all the options that come with dapp. So you can see compilation options, you can see the testing options here, RPC options, SMT deployment options, contract verifying options. Yeah, awesome. So let's just say dapp init. All right, and now we can see it actually creating a new framework here. All right, now we can do ls-l to see everything that was created. So now I have a makefile, lib, out, and source. So I'm going to open this in my text editor like this. Okay, so now we can see simple storage is our project name. We have a lib file. All right, we have a ds tests in here. Okay, we have the out file. All right, this is going to be probably some compilation here. And then the source file where we actually keep simple storage salt. So when you create a new file like this, it goes ahead and creates a new contract for you with the name of the directory. So we have simple storage. We could probably change the name of this, make that a little better, simple storage. And so now we can actually copy the code from our GitHub project here and go to simplestorage.sol, okay? And you can copy this and just put it in your text editor here. Okay, and I'm actually going to do a little bit of formatting on this. Let's just copy the internals. Okay. All right, so let's format these functions a little better. All right, And so what does this contract do? Well, it is it's exactly what it sounds like, a simple storage. It's a simple smart contract, not very complex, and it just allows you to store information on the blockchain. So this is like a canonical hello world smart contract. So if you're just trying to set up a new framework for the first time, or just trying to see how do you have a smoke test to write your first Solidity smart contract, this is always a great example because it's pretty simple. It shows you how variables work. It shows you how functions work. It shows you how to write new information to the blockchain, and it shows you how to read information from the blockchain. So you have a variable here called stored data. All right, and you have one function that lets you update the stored data. All right, right here. So you have a function called set, and you just pass in a variable value of x. Okay, it can be an unsigned integer, so this is just a number, and you're going to set the unsigned integer, the number here, to whatever number you passed it. It could be 0, it could be 1, it could be 99, doesn't really matter. And it's a public function, so you can call it outside the smart contract, and of course you're going to pay a gas fee anytime you do this. And so the next thing is going to be the get function, which is going to let you read that variable, and that's exactly what this does. It just returns the stored data, this return value unsigned integer here. Okay. So that's the smart contract, and we can actually test that this behavior works properly with tests. And I want to show you an interesting thing about DappTools is you can actually write tests inside of Solidity. Okay, so you might have seen lots of other smart contract frameworks where you're writing tests in maybe JavaScript or Python. Cool thing about DappTools is that it has Solidity tests straight out of the box. Some other frameworks do too, but sort of the canonical way of doing it inside of DappTools. And so you can see that here. We'll actually get to that in a minute, but let's just continue with our instructions here. All right, so let's just see here. All right, we did that. Let's go ahead and commit actually, let's go ahead and take the code. Let's go ahead and take the test I was talking about. Let's go ahead and put it in the file here. You can see if you're coming from a different smart contract framework, the tests are actually going to be stored just right next to the other contract file. So instead of keeping the test in a separate directory, it's just right next to the thing that it tests. So you're going to have unit-based tests, so unit tests, and the unit test for this is going to exist right next to the source file that it's testing. I'm going to change the formatting here, simple storage. I'm going to format this code a little better. Okay. Okay. All right. So you can see basically write the test. All right. We use a smart contract to contain the test, and it inherits from DS test. Okay, DS test sold. This is just a library that lets us write a test, and then it imports the smart contract that we're testing, which is simple storage. So we set up is the function that runs before the test happens, and we create a new instance of simple storage. All right, and then we get initial value, assert true, get simple storage set is 0, or get is 0. And then we can test setting a value. So we can say, we'll just set the variable to 300. We'll say simple storage set the value to 300, and then we'll assert true, simple storage get, the value is now 300. Okay. So let's save that and continue on here. All right. So you can commit these files if you want to. If you have a Git repository, you want to push your own repos, you just do git init. Git init, git add dot, and then git commit m. I'll just say initial commit. All right. And now let's actually test the code out. So we can do dapp test. Run our tests. Okay, so we have a little issue here. It's because I changed the casing here. All right, let's try it again. Okay, there we go. Boom, run the test and they pass. So one thing that you might know is pretty interesting, with DappTools, when I ran this test, I didn't have to start any kind of development server first. So if you're coming from a truffle environment, you might have seen me like run a Ganache with a app, like with a graphical user interface, or you might have seen me use Ganache with a command line interface. Basically, you'd be spinning up a test blockchain before you have to run any tests for that particular framework. And in this, you can just run the test straight from the command line, and it just knows how to do the tests and shows you the gas cost, all that type of stuff. You don't have to do that extra step. So that's pretty cool. So next, I'll show you how to actually run a test net to supply by it. So talk about we didn't have to do that to run the test, but you can run a test blockchain like I was talking about a second ago. So let's open up a new tab here, and let's do Dapp testnet. All right, and you'll watch this build. It'll actually do it for you on demand if you don't have everything configured locally. It'll do it. And so now we have it spun up. We have a new RPC URL test blockchain with a RPC URL localhost port 8545. We have a chain ID of 99. Okay. All right. So that's working. So we could, you can actually show this. You can show the configuration files like this. All right. You can see them in here. You can see actually your key store file for Geth, all that type of stuff. So we don't want to view all the key store stuff on page, but you can check this on your own computer if you want to. And you can actually configure your key store address and replace all this information here. It's pretty cool. Okay. So now let's do this. All right, so you actually want to perform these steps. All right, so you want to view the key store address. So you just do ls and then copy the directory and put it in here. It's just going to show you like just what's in that key store file. I'm not actually opening it on screen. I'm just showing you the name of the file, so you can see your key store address here. All right, just copy it. And then basically, I actually did this wrong, so I'm going to redo it. You're going to do export this, and then put it 0x at the beginning. All right, and then you do export ETH key store. All right, with the key store file location. Okay, now we can basically just deploy. All right, so Dapp create simple storage. All right, and so I need to actually go back into my project directory here. I realized I made a mistake. So let's say create or Dapp create simple storage. Okay, and then we can see the output here. And so if it asks for the passphrase, you don't need it. Just hit enter if you're doing it on the test RPC. And boom, there you go. It was included, and here's the address of the deployed contract. All right, so now we want to actually save the contract address here. So get the address, copy it, and put it inside of here. Okay, and then update this environment variable sim standard out at simsto equals this. Then put in the contract address and make sure you do the export keyword here. And now that's going to allow us to actually use the Seth component. All right, to actually interact with the smart contract. That's what the Seth command line tool does. Okay, so we can basically say Seth call and then do $simsto. That just references the environment variable inside Linux for the smart contract that we just saved here. Okay, and then we can. Well, hold on a second. We actually have to give it the function name and just say get. So you just put the function name in parentheses. And then boom, there you go. It's 0 for now, which we expect because it initially starts as 0. And you see it in hex here. So we can set the storage value. We can say Seth send. So there's, this is a read function here, so we did seth call, but now we want to do seth sim, which is actually going to do a write function, so it sends a transaction send, so $simsto, and then say set, and then pass in uint, okay, and then do $seth -2 -uint 256, okay, and then pass in 100. Okay. So we don't need the passphrase, we'll just, all right, boom, there we go. So it's included, and now we can do call. And then there we go. We can see that it's 100. Well, it's in hex here, so it's 0x blah 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 64. But it was actually set to the value that we want here. So, all right. So that is an example of how you can set up DappTools on your machine and actually, start creating a smart contract, writing tests against it, use it on your local machine, spin up a test blockchain, interact with it, all that type of stuff. Okay. Now, if you want to actually deploy to Kovan, some other test network, and or the mainnet, or use whatever if EVM compatible environment you want to, then you can read up on how to do that here. Okay, so MakerDAO actually use this, so you can look at MakerDAO's documentation on how they use Seth to actually do their deployments and interact with their smart contracts, all that type of stuff. And you can read up on the Seth documentation itself. Let's just open it here on GitHub. Okay, so this is a deeper dive on Seth and actually how it works directly from the DappTools documentation. Okay, so it's pretty cool, pretty sophisticated tool, pretty powerful, and especially if you like Linux, then this is a great thing for you to check out. So, I hope you like this video. Again, you don't have to, switch frameworks and start using this if you like, what you're currently using at the end of the day. A lot of framework comes down to personal preference, or maybe about whatever job you take is requiring you to use at the time. Some will have marginal benefits over the others. They all about do the same thing, but this is a new way of doing it. And sometimes, getting your feet wet with these frameworks can expose you to new ideas and concepts, especially in the Linux world if you're not super deep into that. So I hope you like this video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the chat. And until next time, thanks for watching Blockchain Mastery University. All right, so